The following program is sponsored by Tropical Acres Steakhouse.
Hold the Mayo. It's time for Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Find out what's being served with Mike, Defo and Lubie, the only show that covers food, sports, and the proper maintenance of your car. And now, a man who had the distinction of having an entire health clinic named in his honor, Mike Mayo.
I want the flim flam sauce with the awesome bay with shafafa on the side.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another week of Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. We are starting off at home base, which I think is appropriate. We need to regroup from time to time, especially after a big weekend of sports activity, NCAA hoops, and music and food. Although in my case, I'm trying to limit the food these days. Jeff Defo DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz. Defo, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm excellent. I had a very productive morning, but I'm running a little bit behind in terms of organization, as they say in Canadian hockey land. As far as, I went to the gym. I juiced this morning. I got my fourth dose of the Gila Monster venom, also known as Ozempic. And I did a weigh-in this morning. I took last week off because I knew last week in New York I ate a lot. And I ate through the Ozempic. As my daughter said, I was the first person I managed to defeat the Gila Monster and Ozempic. But I was back on track this week. I had a bad head cold, so I didn't do as much exercise. But, the weigh-in was not as bad as it could have been. I dropped like a pound from my last weekend 2 weeks ago. So for the month, okay, I've been on Ozempic for 3 weeks. I started at 236, and I'm now at 230.8. So a little over 5 pounds. And I know this is thrilling stuff, but for those who follow, what's the nut guy, Stu Feiner? He's involved. He does his weekly.
He does a great job with that. I watched him this morning, and I was thinking you should do this on the show.
I should do a little reels. Well, you know what?
You have to be as entertaining as Stu is, though. I got a raving. Here I go.
No, he's a maniac because he says hello to all his workout routine. He has a home gym and he says, hello, dumbbells, hello, treadmills, hello, elliptical. In my case, all I would do is we do have an elliptical machine here at home, but I don't use it. I have now joined the YMCA, and there's a really good, relatively new outpost of the YMCA in downtown Fort Lauderdale, actually Sistrunk Boulevard. I guess historically African-American corridor there. They built a beautiful new facility, and I belong there, and I go, with Val sometimes. And this morning I just was rallying. I'm still hacking up a little bit of, not a full long, half a long, but I'm clearing out the gunk. I feel a million times better than I did. I don't know. I guess, it's kind of like the hockey players play with the, bandages, and they look like the fife and drum corps, and they have broken bones. Last week, Thursday, Friday, not to pat myself on the back, but I was definitely a hurting puppy. But meanwhile, enough about me and the Mayo Clinic health update. But again, clocking it at 2:30 and my, 2:30.8. Okay. Maybe I will start doing Instagram and TikTok reels if I ever go on TikTok doing the weekly weigh-ins. But as my daughter pointed out, because she was very curious, I texted her and she's like, oh, next week you'll be in the 220s. And I was like, that's a very positive outlook, Natalia. Yes. She surely does not get that from me. So. Meanwhile, Jeff Defo DeForest, I see that you took in some music and entertainment and food over the weekend. One of my favorite New Orleans bands, I didn't even realize they were playing, Dumpster Funk. And I love any New Orleans brass band that has like 20 people on stage and they're blaring tubas and sousaphones and horns. How was that? What happened?
Oh, it was mind-blowingly good. I didn't realize this. The Neville brothers, and there are like a zillion of them.
Yes.
They are like the Mannings to football in New Orleans. They would be to music. They are really the crown prince of music in New Orleans. And so the leader of this band, which Joe Casale, I love this guy. I love going to see these bands with Joe because he knows everybody, every detail, and not in a kind of pompous way where I know more about music than you. I mean, just really studies it and understands it. And Ian Neville is the son of Aaron Neville, and he's 65 years old. I couldn't imagine that Aaron Neville had a 65-year-old son. So I guess Aaron's like 85 now.
Oh
And
wow.
they were brilliant. I would have to say it was one of the
Who
most entertaining bands I've ever seen. It was
Okay,
great.
now Joe, he'd been alluding to some, like, I guess, some medical health issues without betraying any confidences or HIPAA, but he's doing okay. He's up and about, and he's moving
Doing
around.
well. He's
Okay,
on the
that's
comeback
good.
trail, and he's becoming himself.
That's good. That's good. We like to hear that. And he loves New Orleans. He loves Jazz
He
Fest.
really knows the history, though. I mean,
Oh
like when
yeah.
you get into your food stuff, Joe C on music, especially New Orleans musicians, is really top notch and very educational. He knew everything about every guy in the band, and having not seen him before, I have to say it was an eye opener. It was that great,
Was
and
it
maybe
one
one
of
of the biggest crowds I've ever seen. They took the tables out in the front because and they jammed in a zillion people wanted to see this band. It was great.
was it one of those shows where everybody couldn't help but get up on their feet and just start dancing and grooving by the time that
Well,
the
I
show
didn't want to
was
gross anybody out, so I didn't dance.
Oh really?
And I've seen
That's
that little dance, that little two-step that you did that time we went to the
I got moves,
place
I
in
tell you.
Deerfield Beach there.
I got deceptive old
Tip.
white man moves. No, um,
I would say this: Lubie can dance a little bit, which is very surprising. For a Jewish fellow that doesn't seem to have a bunch of rhythmic kind of characteristics. But yeah, your dance was as embarrassing as mine.
well, we won't have to. I guess you can compare it to the Elaine dance on Seinfeld. But no, there are certain bands, and especially look. I used to go to Jazz Fest every year. I've been to, I think, about like 15 of them. I haven't been since 2005. I'm dying to get back. And but Dumpster Funk is one of those kind of like
Great
second
band.
generation bands. And describe it's like 20 people and it's just a wall of noise, right? It's just like
No, not really. It was organized chaos, I guess, if you wanted to call it that. They didn't have a ton of. They had a trumpet player who was brilliant. A trombone player was great. Bass guy really stood out. The drummer was outstanding, and he wasn't even a regular drummer. They had Ian Neville, and everybody sang a little bit. The guitar player they just brought in.
yeah, nice.
Just a terrific
Good,
presentation.
good show. And they did what? 2 sets, a little break.
No, they did about. I'd say they did a little over an hour and a hook.
Okay, that's nice. And again, they play at Jazz Fest every year. They're at all those clubs throughout New Orleans during the 2 weeks of Jazz Fest. They always pop up someplace. And you mentioned the Nevilles. Basically, there's two huge, like, founding families of New Orleans music. There's the Nevilles, and then there's the Batistes. And Jean Baptiste has gotten huge because he went to, he was the band leader for a while for Stephen Colbert, and now he's broken off on his own and making his own music. He's
Did he do
blown
the
up.
anthem at the
Yeah,
Super Bowl?
he
That was
did.
Yes,
He
yes,
did the
yes.
anthem. That was Jean Baptiste.
a
But
very
his
disputed over/under. By the way.
Yeah, I think it was under because I don't know where they got the other extra 5 seconds. I mean, you can't count the flyover if the guy stops the notes. The flyover
The
continues.
minute he starts, the minute he starts till he finishes.
Yeah, but anyway, the Batistes are great. There's like 3 generations, just accomplished musicians, jazz and funk and all that stuff. And then the Neville brothers used to close out the Jazz Fest every year. There was like 8 different stages, but the main stage, all the different acts would wrap up, and then the tradition was the Neville brothers would be on the main stage where all the crowd would then gather around, like 120,000 people. And Aaron Neville, who has he's the one that has the beautiful voice, right? It's like
Yeah, I
sweet.
forget who it was. Didn't he do a movie theme song as a duet with some
Don't
female
know
singer?
much.
And it was brilliant.
Are you singing, Louie? I want to hear this.
I sing is horrendous. I just love that song.
What was the song? It was.
Don't know. I don't know what the hell the song's called. I just know that the riff. I don't know.
Okay, no, but the closing song for a long time, and now I'm blanking out on my 59 years. I'm gonna have to look it up on the break because Aaron Neville just would sing like the angels were being released in heaven and
Yeah, he's
they're
beautiful.
descending upon the crowd. It was just so always a really moving, riveting scene at the end of Jazz Fest. And it was one of those beautiful things where you have all these people coming together from all walks of life, rich and poor. It was really, back in the day, Jazz Fest, the tickets were only like $10 general admission. So you have everybody from all the neighborhoods throughout New Orleans would be there. And then you'd have all the kind of, tourists and people coming in from all over the country and world, really. And everybody got along. There were no fights. There was no bad karma. And then the Neville brothers would wrap up. Everybody would realize, oh shit, it's over, and they start walking home. And then immediately you'd start people like brawling and just getting.
No,
So it wasn't exactly the exit from Woodstock.
No, but during the actual 2 weeks of Jazz Fest, there's like a general truce in the world in New Orleans. There's like no gang warfare, there's no violence, there's no crime. Everybody is just in a good festive spirit. So I'm glad you got a little dose of that over the weekend.
It really lifted my spirits. I would have to say I was kind of bumming out a little bit, and then I was thinking, geez, it was a late show. Do I really want to go? I'd done a lot of stuff that day, and it couldn't have been any better. Music really is uplifting to the soul. There's no doubt.
Well, this is what, every day, carpe diem, we're here, we're alive, we're just enjoy every sandwich is my motto for a reason. If you got a chance to go see a band, if you have a chance to go, down to the races and have some fun with some friends, if you don't have to go slave to a 9-to-5 job every day, and we're fortunate enough that, I don't know if you can call what we do work. Somehow we still get paid for it, but we're really blessed, and I just love do what you want to do. And I bought a book up in New York, and this kind of brings me, I don't know where it's bringing me, but it's a book that's it grabbed my attention, just the title, and I'll have to go get it during the break. But it's basically how to learn not to give a f.
Yeah.
And it's just like a guy who is like a blogger who just kind of did this, like just a kind of very simple 180-page kind of guide to living life. It's basically, don't sweat the small stuff, don't get upset over ridiculous things. And of course that leads me to my weekend, where I was having a great time, and then all of a sudden, receipts, let's eat South Florida. It's turned into, let's bitch about $2 on my computed tip. Did it include the taxes? Is not supposed to include the service charge, or it wasn't an automatic service charge. Oh, they put on a credit card fee. People are. What's wrong with people? Learn how to let go.
Okay, I have, in that vein, I have a question for you then, in this regard. And I had a weekend full of eating out.
Good.
And places that are well known that my experiences were sort of but yesterday, so we went for my nephew loves Topgolf. He's really good at it, but I hate it, but he loves Topgolf. And then we went out he wanted hibachi.
Okay, so you went to the Topgolf that's next to the Parimutuel.
Yes, that's the new Pomp. Yeah, it's really nice. I didn't realize they did all that to the Pomp.
It's all there. Yeah,
it was really nice.
No more harness racing, but they've got all the Topgolf that you can handle.
They made it nice. So, and the Topgolf was fine, was cool. And then he wanted hibachi. So we go to Benihana. And at the end of it, and I know we've seen service charges, and we know they've thrown this fee and that fee, but this one was like, it was on a $150 bill, it was $20. Like, that's not full 20% tip, but that's not some schmanky service charge. And then she's like, but that goes to all of us. But if you want to tip me, you can also tip me. And it's like, yeah, but that's like,
wait, so what was the percentage? They added on 15%? I don't know. Automated.
The bill was after the 20. So it was 130 and plus $21. Like, that's
21. That seems like 13. 15%? Let me do some quick math. 15%. So
yeah, so it's like, but it wasn't the tip. So it was like, and my wife is very generous, so I threw on extra money. But I'm not gonna lie, like, when you throw a fee like that and you don't explain it till the end, and you didn't even tell us what the percentage was, because it wasn't like $3 or $4.
It's probably on the menu. Which place was it again? Do you know?
Benihana. I didn't see it anywhere on the menu.
Benihana?
Yeah, Benihana did.
People still go to Benihana?
Well, my nephew wanted a hibachi. There's not like 80 different hibachi places.
Okay.
We're in the Cold Springs area.
Teppanyaki is actually the term, not hibachi. But
I know that's what I don't know. I don't know the official term. So, anyways, but like they didn't explain it at all. And then after she just says it's there, and then we're all like, yeah, but this isn't like it's like the size of what a tip would sort of be, but it was still sort of less than what you would tip. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going on Let's Eat or anything to rant about it, but I didn't understand it. Like I've dealt with gratuities, I've dealt with little fees, for the water. Like we were at Heritage Saturday, it's great water, it's $1, who cares? But like that was like a weird in the middle.
Wait, you buried the lead. You went to Heritage on Saturday. How's
Reno? It was a busy eating weekend, and we can get to it as the show goes on. You brought up the receipts thing.
Yes, the receipts.
My nerve. Like you guys deal with different fees. You guys are very generous in tipping. Like, what do you do with that? Because it's not $4.
Did you ask? Did you ask the server or anybody, like, is this a service fee that is supposed to be instead of tip, or am I still supposed to tip on top of this? Is this going to the house?
He said
and
that.
Again,
she said it goes to everyone.
The team. Okay.
So everyone, but if you want to tip me, you can. It's like, okay.
Yeah. And if you've been following Let's Eat with any regularity, this has become the big hot button issue, is the lack of communication and clarity when it comes to these service charges, fees. Is it automatic gratuity? Is it going to the server who's serving you? Is it going to the boss that's sitting on his yacht with a cigar in his mouth? Like I think it behooves everybody. Again, I've said it a lot of times, the 3 C's: clarity, communication, and I forgot the third C because I'm also out of my mind. But be clear up front. And in this case, it seems like it wasn't clear. I think, again, people have choices to make. If the restaurant's policy is that they are now going to like this team-based approach where they impose a X amount service charge that's going to the whole staff, and some of it might be going to the kitchen staff too, because historically servers made more than kitchen staff, and the kitchen ones are sweating in 100-degree heat and they're getting paid less. The bottom line is, as a customer, I would usually tip, 20 to 25% for good service. It used to be 15 to 20.
You just have to do more math. That's a problem. It's like, okay, so I got to at the end of it, I realized I got to about 27. I don't know what the percentage was.
No,
it's like throw $10 on it. Which
here's
is fine.
the thing: if they're going to impose an automatic thing where it's 15%, and then they explain, but if your server was good, the additional tip money will go directly to them and only them.
She said.
Then maybe you throw on another 3 to 5%, so you make it the typical 20% that you would have put out of pocket.
It's just how many people already suck at doing percentages as it is. Like,
yeah,
people hate math because they're not going to do that. They're not going to go, okay, carry the 7. Like, they're not going to do that. They're just going to do what I would
have phones. These phones have these amazing gadgets called a calculator that you can actually figure it out on your own. It's not that hard to figure out what 5% of a bill is. You just take 10% and split it in half. But, race trackers, I found, Defo, are much more proficient at doing quick math than anybody else, right? How much is a 4-horse exacta box for $1?
$4, but
that's 50 cents.
Here's my thing on all of it. I read all of this stuff on Let's Eat. I can't believe the fetching and the people, say, oh, is this fair? Oh my God. And they showed a receipt. And now everybody's complaining about showing receipts. Be generous. That would be my thought. If the check's $130, if it didn't include a service charge, if you're not at least leaving $30, there's something wrong with you. All right. If you're going to sit there and go, wait a minute, it was 126. So, and you got a calculator out, there's something wrong with you. You just leave the person. It almost should be like a cover charge in some ways that you realize coming in, hey, I'm going to pay a little extra for this because I'm eating out. And I want everybody to feel good about it. And even if I'm never coming back here again,
right?
I don't want to stiff the poor people that may be sharing tips with busboys, with barbacks.
They got a tip out.
Kitchen. Right. Let me throw a little more than normally would be anticipated. I think if you used as a base 20%, you should make sure that you're doing something over that. And if you are, then you can feel good about yourself leaving. And if you're nitpicking about $1 here or there, or 3% or 1% or 2%, then you probably shouldn't be in the business of going out to eat.
As I said to somebody today that was like complaining about pricing, or it's like, you know what, maybe, and we don't say just stay home because that's against our rules.
No,
But
it's
I'll
fine.
say,
But I mean, if you're sitting there with a
no,
calculator and you got
no,
six
no, no.
people at the table and you're going, it's $1.30 to you, and
But
I'm
for
not saying any of
those,
that. Go out, have a good time with people.
that's what I say. But for those people who can't and who just are like obsessed with these things, I don't like saying maybe restaurants aren't for you, but maybe restaurants aren't for them. And wait till they get a load of doing their shopping at Publix. That's
Oh,
what I say.
God.
Go to Publix and then come back to me and see how unfair restaurants are.
That's that's my problem, and I agree with Defo. Like, 20% is always the minimum, but I usually go over that, and I don't do an exact 20% because that feels weird to me nowadays. Like, that's my problem, is I didn't want to screw the server. So like, it wasn't that I was mad I was going to go on the group. I just didn't know what to do with it. It was just weird.
Let me answer a real question, though, Lubie.
Yeah.
I was a fan of Benihana's at one time, and I lived near the one. Where you at Lauderdale by the Sea?
Yeah, it's
we're-
downhill, Commercial Boulevard.
Okay.
I've heard
This
my
one
horror stories.
wasn't there. This one was
And I was a chef one time, a celebrity chef.
Oh,
at
this is Coral
Benihana's
Springs.
with-
Coral Springs.
My partner was Howard Schnellenberger. Actually,
you
Howard
flip
and I
the
were
sh-
doing.
I'm sorry.
Howard and I were doing the whole hibachi thing, and it was great. But I found, and I haven't been there in years and years, and I used to kind of enjoy it because of the show and everything. But I realized it wasn't really that great of a meal. By the time you got done, they
It's not
brought the
that
stuff and
much.
it looked great. And by the time you got served, you literally, it was like the old thing, the cliche about Chinese restaurants, where half hour later you're hungry, half hour later you're going to get a pizza somewhere.
You got a flat top teppanyaki thing, and all you're doing is getting some basic chicken and shrimp. You're squirting a little of that fake butter or
Looks great.
margarine oil,
They do the whole
and
thing.
then some soy sauce. But I was going to ask you, when you were doing the celebrity chef thing, did you flip the shrimp up into your own?
I wasn't great at it, and I was a server, and I could do French service, even with a Caesar salad. And I've done a variety of different types of service. But Schnellenberger, Howard, was way better at it than I was. He
I
really
bet. I bet Schnelly could like flip the shrimp into his pipe. That would be.
And what was great about having Schnellenberger serving, it was like, how many of those bean sprouts do you guys want?
Yeah.
And it wasn't like your typical Japanese chef asking you what's going
I
on.
love that. That's so great.
I
can't
wanna
imagine
say it was
Shula
like
doing
Coral
that.
Gables or something. We were, way down south in Miami.
You know the way. You know the way Shula.
of it.
Go. I was gonna say, the way Shula rode me for like when I was young, and I would ask these questions, and then I would get nervous and move my hands, and he would go, "What's with all this movement?" I could see Shula at a Shula's Steakhouse, like on the grill, or as a server, and when he asked, somebody asked for extra onions, he goes, "Oh, what's with all these onions?" What do you want?
Shula was such an icon. That Shula Steakhouse, the original, was really one of the classic
great.
restaurants. And I remember, and this was one of my favorite things ever reported in my long broadcasting career, was Barry Jackson quoting me on saying, Don Shula, legendary coach, great steakhouse, but how does he have the nerve? And think about how old this is. How does he have the nerve to charge $8 for a baked potato?
Yeah, and these
Now
days,
you'd be thrilled to
I
get.
would love to get a baked potato for $8. I see him now,
And it was a giant
funny.
thing, like the
Yeah.
size of Iowa. It was
Huge.
unbelievable, or Idaho.
bigger
So-
than OJ's head or Jason Cole's.
Well, put it this way, and to answer Defoe's comment, of the 3 places we went out to eat, it was to me the least rewarding. I've never been a fan of it because I like to eat my food together. Like, I like my rice with my meat and like the way they portion it out. You get the rice first, and then you're waiting for the chicken or the steak. And Shirley got the steak, so she's waiting. Everyone was already done with their meal by the time she got her freaking steak. Like, so your food's cold by the time you get it. And I'm not a big fan of like super cold food.
Yeah,
And like they jack the prices up too, and like.
But you know what? These places, and there's a new one called Saito's, Saito, that opened up at Dania
I've seen
Point.
that. I've
There's,
never had it.
there's
Yeah.
several other.
Are they
love-
successful, Mike? Because I
People-
remember, you remember Pete's Cafe Belisari with Pete, who was a chef at Monterano, and then he opened his own place in Parkland, and I thought it was great.
Right.
And then he really got buried when he opened a hibachi restaurant next door. And I was
Well,
thinking,
the thing
these
is-
just aren't popular anymore, are they?
With hibachi, no, they come and go. And the thing is, nowadays, I think they're making a comeback because so many people like Shirley are into experiences. And my daughter also, they like going somewhere. It's almost like dinner and a show because they're putting
It's
on a
Riverwalk
show.
with a spatula.
Yeah, but
Yes.
when it comes down to it, the food itself is not very
Wasn't great.
satisfying or very fancy. But for people who are in their, teens and 20s, they like it. It's something a little bit different.
Well, it's kind of a cool thing when you're at a table, even with people that you didn't come with. You're a party of two, and you
Yep.
get seated at an 8 top, and they're doing the whole thing, and you get to party a little bit. It's almost like being at a craps table or playing blackjack.
Yes.
So it's kind of fun in that
I
regard. But is it worth the differential? I mean, I'd rather go out and
No.
get a square
I
meal.
I liked one. I reviewed one of these places in Miramar, of all places, when I was at the Sentinel. It was called Blue Ginger, and it was great because there the chefs would actually play with fire. Like they would light up, they would squirt the oil
They'd set
bottle,
themselves on fire, and
and
then
it would be like if Jimmy Johnson was there, forget it. His whole hair would be in flame. But they would do things with like flame dancing, and then instead of flipping the shrimp onto the cap, it was great because I would sit there and they would flip it into your mouth. So I was like a baby seal, and I would just go, and they would like be flipping shrimp and chicken into my mouth directly. I think at one point the streak got up to about 6, and but then the shooting.
it's great though. Those guys are fantastic. It's just I was curious because Lubie, you came away with the same impression as me, and that's maybe why I haven't been there in 30 years.
Yeah.
Even though I drive by the place every day, pretty much. I just think that the meal was not overwhelmingly
Sus, as
great.
the kid says, sus. It was meh or mid or sus.
Yeah,
It was all right, but
It's
nothing
Like
great.
those
no
Chinese-
great shakes. Yeah.
And what is it priced at now, Lube? I mean, what
It was
did you-
for the chicken hibachi. It was like $30-something.
Oh yeah, I imagine the
The
shrimp
chicken
must be
is just
the
sitting
filet
right-
mignon must be like $42, and the chicken is 34.
The New York strip one is like 38, and the chicken was 32. And it's just, and they don't even give you. They used to give you fried rice as your rice. Now you have to pay extra to get the fried rice. Like,
Yeah,
it's
there's-
whatever.
What was this guy's name? Rocky Aoki? Did he
Yeah,
check
Yeah,
out?
he had all kinds of. Well, there was all kinds of issues. With
He,
Well,
had,
his
company.
son's
he had that place on the Hillsborough Mile, though, that was actually done in the theme. The roof and everything was looked
It was
just
like
like
a Benihana.
like a Benihana's. So and I haven't seen that for a long time. So I guess it's
Hey, we
gone.
got to take our first break. It's a Tropical Acres Monday. Today is the perfect time to go into Tropical Acres because not only can you get the half price happy hour at the bar, which is every Monday through Friday, 4:30 to 6:30, it's also half price wine night,
Yep.
which you can't beat that deal. You get it lower than you do at the discount liquor stores when you go in and get, I'm talking about a good bottle of wine, like things that, you could get $50 bottles normally, $25. I mean, you're going to be paying that for a glass of wine at some of these joints now in Fort Lauderdale and Miami. So great values. And then, of course, you get your loyalty reward club card punched. Every 12 that you get punched, you get a 13th entree on the house up to $35 value. You can apply that towards your great, the filet mignon, the prime rib, seafood specials. I love Tropical Acres. And don't forget, they are usually closed Sundays, but they are open for Easter Sunday, April 20th, and Mother's Day, May 11th. Call them now to get a reservation for those two big holidays. You want to get in the books. Don't get shut out. They only take reservations over the phone. It's 954-989-2500, 954-989-2500. Tropical Acres, 75 years in business. The Studiales are the masters of hospitality. We love them. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you.
I got to laugh here. Scott's got a post up on the chat line. Remember Danny's 19th hole?
Oh, yeah.
Were you familiar with this place?
I've heard of it. What? Fill me in.
It was kind of like, I guess I want to say maybe in the Boca area or somewhere around there. But I used to do some shows there when I was working in Radio Purgatory for a little while, and it was the only remotes that we could get. Danny was a real good guy, and the food was really good. It was underrated as a restaurant, and they had a fire, I remember. And what was weird about it was, and you would have to think something was up here, because their store in a strip mall was the only one that burnt.
Let's take some.
And I
skill.
remember Danny was outside in the parking lot, and no one ever heard or saw him again. Heard him or saw him again, and the next thing you know, I heard maybe he was like in Costa Rica somewhere. So
These things.
I don't know if that implies anything, but his place was the only place that got fire in the whole mall.
These things happen sometimes. It's coincidence. All right, let's take that first break. We'll be back with more on the Lunchbox after these words. When people ask me about the best restaurants in South Florida, Casa D'Angelo is always at the top of my list. First-class dining, top-flight service, elegant atmosphere. and chef founder Angelo Ilia is legendary. The flagship in Fort Lauderdale has been serving the finest Italian cuisine since 1997, with other locations in Boca Raton and Aventura. As Angelo himself says, they have an unwavering commitment to unparalleled quality with meticulous attention to details. It's so good, with house-made pastas, pristine seafood, unique meats like elk chops and bison, and seasonal specialties including fragrant fresh truffles from Italy. All locations open 7 days for dinner. Reservations recommended for a special occasion or any occasion. Casa de Angelo. Tell them Mike Mayo sent you. Delicious Mexican food with innovative twists. Margaritas with a medley of tongue-tingling flavors. I'm talking about Taco Craft, Taqueria, and Tequila Bar. The place to go on Taco Tuesday and every day. It's located at 510 North Federal and Highway in Fort Lauderdale, and also in Lauderdale by the Sea at Plantation Walk, and soon in Coral Springs. Taco Craft has specials every day, including bottomless drinks for a Sunday brunch, and Taco Tuesdays with their $4 premium tacos, including their new burrito tacos with bone marrow broth. Oh, it's so good. They've even made a taco lover out of me, and they've got so much more, including fajitas, that open-faced smashed cheeseburger tortilla that's new, and a guacamole sample that's an explosion of flavors. The kitchen is open late. There's delivery and takeout. For more information, go to tacocraft.com. Tell them Mike Mayo the Lunchbox sent you. Hey, it's Mayo. Looking for great seafood that's a little further inland? Luke's Seafood and Grill. That's Luke's with a C. 5511 South University Drive in Davie. Luke and Roxy, they're a great couple with great food. It's a mom and pop shop bringing the freshest fish and seafood to Western Broward. Some of the best jambalaya and fish cakes around. And Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? You can find his famous Scoobies, those sauteed crab claws, right there on the specials board most days. Oh, so good. So take a trip to University just north of Sterling today. Lunch, dinner, closed on Mondays. Tell them Mike Mayo's Lunchbox sent you. When people come to me and say, Mike, where should I go out to eat? I got guests coming from out of town. Where should we go? Cafe Seville. That's the answer. 2768 East Oakland Park Boulevard. It's a Fort Lauderdale perennial, serving the finest in Spanish and continental cuisine in a cozy, friendly, comfortable setting. Joey Esposito and Sally, his better half, they've been running the place for a long time. It's been open since the 1980s. They got great Spanish classics like paella, shrimp with garlic sauce, and all kinds of great seafood dishes. The stuffed veal chop, oh, that's my favorite. Go to Cafe Seville. It's open every day but Sunday at 5 p.m. for dinner. Tell them that the Lunchbox Mayo and Defo sent you. Feel like getting away without leaving town? Then you got to check out the House on the River in Fort Lauderdale. It's a beautiful restored historic home with indoor and outdoor dining right on the new river. You'll think you're in Charleston or Savannah. It has a gorgeous patio, porches, and private dining areas, and it offers unique experiences perfect for a date night or fun times with friends and family. It has weekend brunches, happy hour, dinner Wednesday through Sunday. There's also a high tea on Friday and Saturdays, and the popular House of Veuve Champagne experience on weekends. The House on the River is in Fort Lauderdale's Himmershey district, just south of the Science Museum. For reservations and information, go to the House on the. All right, we're back on the Lunchbox, a home show, rare home shows today and tomorrow because we got a lot of topics. Sometimes it gets hard to do that when we're out and about with, enjoying different restaurants and talking to chefs and restaurateurs like Frank Talrico last week. Wednesday, we got a double.
Was that, by the way?
That was great.
That was a subtle reminder that you need to get in there.
Pastas were great. Wednesday, we got a doubleheader. We're going to be with our man Luke at the usual 2:30 post time for Luke because he likes to do it after the lunch rush. That's out in Davie. You can tune in from home, Defo, a little bit. You're gonna
may have to scratch on it. I actually have a doctor's appointment at 3.
Okay. All right, and we will need a doctor's note to get.
You're happy to bring one.
I'm kidding. And then we are doing a late show on Wednesday. This is good because House on the River for their happy hour, we're going to do a 5 o'clock show with our
Nice.
man Steve DePuzzo. I happened to do a walkabout. We did a nice walkabout 5 miles yesterday, all around the New River and Fort Lauderdale. Me and Val ended up at Batch for brunch, but we walked by a house in the river and it was just packed. So we're going to be doing that 5 o'clock Wednesday. Thursday, gonna see our friend Lenore at Gilbert's and have some burgers. That's at the usual 1 p.m. post time on Thursday. Friday, back at Gulfstream for the pre-Florida Derby edition. Florida Derby Eve. There's going to be a buzz in the air. We might be shunted off to the
We'll be
other
on the other
side
side. I'm not even
of 10
wasting.
pounds. But again, get your tickets now. I think there's still a few. It's one of the best values in terms of getting a seat overlooking the track because,
Yep.
like reserve seating down below or in 10 Palms, it's all booked up and it could be a pretty penny, but the taste of the track, go online to gulfstreampark.com and you can get VIP ticket for $195 with premium wine, top flight food, and a view of the races through that picture window on the third floor all day. Is going to be just fantastic. Hey, we got to do the contest. I just want to put one little bow. Okay, first this is the book I bought up in New York at the Strand bookstore. Have you ever been into the Strand, world famous Strand bookstore, Broadway and like 12th Street?
Possibly, maybe to try and shoplift a book or two.
Tagline.
That looks backwards to me, though. It's,
It is the subtle art of not giving a bleep.
no, you can't turn it around that way.
Yeah, I know.
It's
We
it's
got
the
it.
subtle art of not giving a. is
Not
what it
giving
is.
an F, but
I've either read this or I've heard of it. Like,
yeah,
I've heard-
no, it's great. And I started reading it, but I got to read you this first paragraph because it's great. The chapter 1 is called "Don't Try," and the point of the book is don't sweat the small stuff and be your natural self, and good things.
I mean, Val must have picked that out for you.
No, I actually,
You came up with this on your own?
yeah, I saw this book. The title grabbed me. I also bought another book, but Strand Bookstore, world famous. The tagline is 14 miles of books and millions of possibilities. Chapter 1 of this book, it's called "Don't Try," and it says Charles Bukowski was an alcoholic, a womanizer, a chronic gambler, a lout, a cheapskate, a deadbeat, and on his worst days, a poet.
You described almost
That's
all
a
of my
great
friends.
Like,
Yeah.
is that all of our friends?
That's a great line. So he's a man
It's
after
an
my
anthem.
own.
That's the theme to live
Well,
with.
that was the opening line, and he used Bukowski as an example of he was a guy who tried to get hired at all kinds of, he was really he was a writer who wanted to be reputable. He tried to get jobs at all kinds of magazines and newspapers. He got rejection after rejection. He got despondent. He took a job as a postal, sorting mail in a post office. And it really deadened his soul, and he was depressed and he drank and all that stuff. But then he would go off and write. And it wasn't until he got a shot later in life where a guy gave him a chance that he found his true self. But he never changed and he didn't get down on it. I mean, he got down, but he was who he was. And I guess that's the point of the book is like, be yourself and don't sweat the small stuff like a $1 service charge, or if they computed the automatic tip using, also that they included the tax or the credit card fee, which in that case, this was a post that was put up yesterday about Thai Spice, and it was completely inaccurate and incomplete and out of context. And I talked to the owner, and this guy put his own tip in it. And the tip, we don't know what tip he put on. They give you the automatic credit card machines, and then it gives you either boxes, or you could add your own custom tip, or you could say no tip and give them cash, which is what I usually do on these machines. And we don't even have any clarity. The guy made it seem like it was an automatic gratuity and it was computed wrong because it included the tax when they computed it. And no matter how you slice it, it was like a difference of 4 cents or $1 or whatever. And it's like, oh my God.
But that's the point of the whole tipping controversies, if there are any. I mean, if you're at that point where you're calculating whether or not they charged you on the tax and calculated that into some kind of service charge, then, as you said before, maybe going out isn't really for you. It's possible, but this isn't your
question your life decisions and your life choices.
Best opening line of any book, Mike Mayo. I mean, people would say, call me Ishmael or whatever, Moby Dick, but without question, Andy Byer, Picking Winners.
Yes.
Women and gambling don't mix.
Don't mix. There you go.
So
Could be
many
considered
times.
I mean, if
misogynist.
you ask me any of the 3 books I've read lifetime, that one struck me as
I've known some women that mix with gambling, and some ones that are very good. And
women and gambling don't mix. Keep that in mind, my friend.
I don't know. I'm not going to tell that to Kate and Bradar. She's our friend.
No, but I mean that's an exception. I mean,
And
in
you're
general,
let's-
we're talking in general.
Hey, just to put a bow on what Lubie was talking about. Okay, so some of these places now impose what they call an automatic service charge. It's not a gratuity going to your server; it's going to the entire house. Again, my policy is this: if they're going to put in an automatic service charge and it's 20%, and they expect me to leave more on top of the 20%, that's a place I'm not going back to, and that's a place I'm making a decision. Okay, that's their policy, their house, their rules. I don't like it. If you think I'm gonna, some of these places in Miami where it goes to actually the owners, like they rip off their staff. I don't know why any staff stays, but that's between them and their staff. But if you expect me as a guest to come in and you're already charging me an automatic 20% and you want me to leave an extra 10 to 20% on top of that, that's a restaurant I'm not going to. Now, in the case of this, where it's 15% service charge going to everybody, but you could add more for your particular server, they're pooling it. So your server is getting a cut of the 15% from not just your table, from everybody. You hope that, hey, if it works for him, fine. I'll leave another 5%. I'll bring it up to 20. But I'm not going more than 20 if you're telling me what it's going to be to begin with. And if you leave it on my own volition, it's going to be anywhere from 20 to 30%. So that's, that's the Russian roulette.
I have friends in the industry that have gotten jobs. So that's the funny thing is I don't mind the automatic gratuity because I'm going to tip more most of the time. So I don't mind it. My problem was I'd never seen the middle ground. Like I've seen service charges and it's like $2.30 and I've seen automatic gratuity. I had never seen where she literally spent 5 minutes trying to explain it to us. And that confused us more. And we were like, so what do we do? I don't know. Shirley's like, just throw 10. I was like, okay.
Here's what I want from restaurants, okay? Because, the guests, we have a responsibility that we will pay and be fair to the service staff. But I want an explanation on a menu, on a website, and just tell me what is expected of me. What charges are you imposing automatically, and what is expected of me as a guest? And then I'm going to make a decision whether your establishment is for me or not. And that's
what I don't like, Mike Mayo, though, along those lines.
Yeah,
is when the guy comes as if he was like in the 10 Palms, and our guy Steve that comes around and you can take bets, and they got the little machine. All right, so and you can pay by credit card with the server right there on the spot, and they give you the tip options, but they don't have a tip option that actually fits what you really wanted to tip.
No, but this is, again, this is
where
where I had a discussion.
Like 15%, 20%, 25%, but they don't have another.
And this is where it trips up some people, especially if they're not facile with machines or technology. They should always be on these machines. First of all, I hate if they hover over you and they're looking.
Right, and then you're sitting right next to the guy going, listen, your service wasn't really all that great, but I'm going to throw you 20% anyway.
Have you considered going into contracting? Boom, 10%. No.
I want to say this, though, too. I mean, in defense of the service industry here, and having been in it, in the early stages of my professional life, I mean, people here, by and large, do a great job.
Yes.
For whatever complaints there are, and you're going to get a lousy service deal once in a while. The kitchen's slow, whatever. Maybe they forgot to do something. But for the most part, you would have to say, and I don't know if this is a consensus of Let's Eat people, that the service that's given here in South Florida restaurants is top notch for the most part.
Oh, I'm going to disagree on that front.
You don't believe that? I mean, I rarely go somewhere where I go, man.
You go to quality places, okay? Cafe Seville, you have a veteran professional staff. They do a great job. It comes down to the kind of place you're going to. Some places are just like fly by night, and they hire these college kids, or not to impute college kids, but kids who don't have proper training, who don't have proper personality for the hospital. I've seen the gamut here, depending on the place. When you go to your old reliables, they mostly have a great professional staff because they've been there a long time and they make good money. But when you go to some of these new places, I go, whew, like Rodney Dangerfield rolling his eyes in Caddyshack. It's like, look at this.
There was a lot of material to communicate, too. I happened to be at a traffic light last night, commercial in A1A, right Lauderdale by the Sea, and I actually was watching a guy as he was, introducing himself to a table at Taco Craft. And I thought, this guy actually spent some time. You could
Oh, no.
see that, there would be a lot of questions at Taco Craft because it's a little different than standard stuff.
Who are
And
we talking
he
about?
looked like he was spending a lot of time in a very friendly fashion,
We're
letting the
talking
people
about a
know that they were
falsetto.
welcome and that if they had any questions, I determined all this while sitting there for 30 seconds, but you could see that the guy was giving
Yeah, because we're talking about a well-trained staff at a top-notch establishment, and I'm not just saying that because they're one of our sponsors. I'm saying it because Mark
No, it's
Falsetto
true.
and
No, they're-
Anthony Bruno, like he said, they're ready to go on day one. They do training. They do proper training for their staff, so that doesn't
But
surprise
that's the thing
me.
is, I don't blame even when the service isn't bad. Defo touched on it, and Mayo sort of touched on it. I try not to blame the staff because I feel like there's a reason. Like it's usually training is a thing. Like the companies that care, like Eddie and Vinny's trained their staff for weeks. Like
Yep.
a lot of companies don't. A lot of companies don't do extensive training. So to me, that's not on the staff. Like, look, the girl that was at Benihana did a really good job. Like that's the thing. We wanted to make sure we took care of her because she was fantastic. I was just confused by the actual.
No, what's the policy? All right, we got to take our second break. I swear we're going to give the contest winner next one. I'm also going to eat my egg. I just boiled some eggs. Is there anything better? I went to BJ's this morning, did some shopping after the gym. $8.99 for 18 organic eggs. I consider that a steal. And then I had some old eggs in the fridge, and you got to clear out the old eggs to put the new eggs in. So I just boiled them. Is there anything better than when you do some hard-boiled eggs and the shells come right off and the center comes out perfect, and it's just like, oh, these are the simple things in life, my friends. These are the
back in the day, you would have done a Cool Hand Luke on here and eaten like 50 of them, which you may
Right.
do.
No.
Thank God you're shooting this stuff.
I cut my egg in half like Lafitte Penkai with his cashew on the flight across the country.
I have to say, it's always appealing to watch TV and see somebody eating a hard-boiled egg while they're flying. When I was in the Newhouse School of Communications, that was the first thing they said. Hey, make sure you have an egg handy.
Bob Costas. I think he got his start sucking down some eggs. All right, let's
Maybe
second
Hank
break.
Goldberg, but I don't know.
Before I do the second break, let's talk about Casa d'Angelo. I mean, again, we got some spring holidays coming up. You're going to have some friends, family maybe coming from out of town, and one of the places that you got to take them if they are interested in quality and top notch. And again, this is not for people who are going to quibble about $1 or $2 on a gratuity, because you're going to get top flight service. And there I give them 25 to 30% because you get such impeccable service. The wine, the sommelier comes over, and he wants to make sure you get the right pairing with what you're getting. They have all these specials. It's not just pastas and red sauce there. They have exquisite crudos, fresh seafood. They're flying in from Maine and they have the tag on it. They pulled it out of the water like 12 hours before. They show me these things at Casa d'Angelo. It is impeccable quality. We love Angelo Elia and his staff. He's got 3 locations. Casa d'Angelo flagship is at Fort Lauderdale, 1201 North Federal Highway. Then, of course, is the Boca location on Palmetto Park Road with our friend Chef Ricky. And then Aventura right near Gulfstream. If you hit it big on Florida Derby Day, go right down to Casa d'Angelo in Aventura and celebrate. It is a place for people who appreciate the finer things in life. You will not be disappointed. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. All right, let's take break number 2, and we'll be back and give a contest winner after these words. Southern comfort food from a scratch kitchen, delicious drinks and house-made spirits from a craft bar. A great vibe inside and out with a spacious patio. I'm talking about Batch New Southern Kitchen and Tap, Fort Lauderdale, in the heart of the city at 525 North Federal Highway. It's open 7 days for lunch, dinner, and weekend brunch with classics like fried chicken and waffles and shrimp and grits, and creative items like pecan-crusted salmon and a fried green tomato BLT. And the drinks? Smooth sipping and so good. There's convenient free parking and a garage next door, happy hour at the bar, an entire patio, 4 to 7 Monday to Friday, and live music every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's pet and people friendly and with cozy fire pits for when the temperature dips. For reservations and more information, go to batchsouthernkitchen.com. If you like seafood in a comfortable setting, outdoors, even keel fish shack at the corner of A1A and Commercial Boulevard in Lauderdale by the Sea, and also now with a new location on Las Olas Boulevard. Those are my spots. Upscale food and a down-home setting. The chef owners, Dave and Brad, do a terrific job with all the seafood classics that you want. They have the best grilled oysters in town, bang bang shrimp, lobster rolls, and deli fish specials. They also have weekend brunch Saturday and Sunday. They have deli happy hour 4 to 7, and they also have other weekly specials like mussels on Monday and oysters on Tuesday. Go to Even Keel Fish Shack and tell them that the Lunchbox sent you. If you want great Italian food in a beautiful beachfront setting, have I got the place for you. Casa Calabria at the Ocean Manor Resort, 4040 Galt Ocean Drive in Fort Lauderdale. Highly rated across all the restaurant review platforms and totally Mike Mayo's Lunchbox approved. Delicious, authentic Southern Italian food in a cozy dining room overlooking the Atlantic. Live music in the lounge, full bar, and a great wine list. Owner Frank Talrico takes great pride in his family recipes from his native Calabria. Fresh fish and seafood, veal, house-made pastas, and marinara sauces smooth as silk. You gotta try the imported meats and cheeses on the antipasta platters, and don't miss that ricotta gnocchi, fluffy little pillows straight from heaven. Casa Calabria, open for dinner Tuesday through Sunday, closed on Mondays. Tell them. For the finest poultry and the freshest fish, Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market, located at 4191 North State Road 7 in Hollywood, open 7 days. Since 1951, a South Florida tradition for stone crab in season, Thanksgiving turkeys, holiday feasts, and everyday eating. Great steaks, house-made sausage, and prepared foods, too. Delaware is not just a market, it's a celebration of taste, quality, and old-fashioned customer service with a smile. Sign up for their weekly email flyer at DelawareChicken.com and tell them Mike Mayo and the Lunchbox sent you. When the Brooklyn boy in me wants a great bagel with lox, matzo ball soup, deli sandwich, and rugelach, you know where I go? Grandpa's Restaurant in Dania Beach. It's a South Florida institution since 1957 that was revamped a few years back by a pair of New York bagel baking legends. Full deli and appetizing case with spreads, salads, and platters for takeout and catering. Grandpa's is near Federal Highway just north of Sterling Road, open 7 days for breakfast and lunch. Go eat and enjoy. It's Mike Mayo's Lunchbox approved. For the finest and authentic Greek cuisine, Taverna Kima is the place to go. 6298 North Federal Highway in Boca Raton. It's been around for nearly 2 decades. Every day is a feast with grilled lamb and fish, house-made spinach pie and moussaka, gyros, traditional dips, mezes, with soft, warm pita. It's open 7 days for lunch and dinner with happy hour daily from 3 to 6 p.m., indoor, outdoor, private dining. So celebrate life at Taverna Kima. For reservations and information, go to Taverna. All right, we're back on the Lunchbox. I am finishing up a boiled egg. I also bought a rotisserie chicken, one of those organic chickens. So today we answer a deep philosophical question: which came first, the chicken or the egg? Today, the egg. The egg came first. All right,
And then the chicken. There you go. All right, let's give a winner. Because Defo's got to get out of here.
Here we go. Now my mouth is full. What am I going to do? It was an interesting contest because basically the restaurant, to nobody's surprise, for National Paella Day, which is coming up Thursday, Cafe Seville. Who knows? But then we got to the hard part, which was the contest race. The 9th race at Gulfstream on Saturday. There was a couple of scratches. The favorite did not win. Second choice did not win. Third choice did not win. It was a bomb. Bombs away. Number 3, Joyful Lass, $52 horse.
Nice.
Nobody had it.
Oh, geez.
Which means
Not even Sheldon G.
Sheldon G is not eligible to play. He probably would have had it because he already just won in the last 90 days. So he's in the penalty box. So basically, we had to go to the second place horse, Vino Rouge, which is fitting for the theme of food and beverage here. Vino Rouge, red wine, number 6, 5-1, finished second. Several people had Vino Rouge. Okay. And then we go to the tiebreaker. Now, of those who had Vino Rouge, only 2 people picked Arkansas over St. John's. Final score was Arkansas by 9. So that was not good news for Bree, just Bree. I don't know what her full name is. I don't know if she's a cheese, but Bree unfortunately picked Arkansas by 3. The winner, Mark Balo, picked Arkansas by 4. So since he was closest to the final result of Arkansas by 9, he is this week's winner. 10 Palms Sunday brunch package for 2. Mark Balo
Nice.
has been in the winner's circle before.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you and a guest have won a brunch for 2. And if you want, come on out on April 6th
Brunch bash.
for our brunch bash. And if you want to join us, you don't even have to be a winner. You just have to be willing to pony up a very reasonable price, a discounted price of $44 per person, plus tax and tip. Gets you all day buffet, plus a mimosa apiece. And you get a day at the races. I'll give out maybe some winners, maybe some losers, but we're going to have some fun. Going to get the great omelets and the carvery and all the great things that Joe Beja. Don't forget the desserts, pastry bars, fantastic. Again, if you want to come to that brunch bash Sunday, April 6th, just email me at mikemayoeats@gmail.com and just tell me the number of people in your party, and you don't even have to pay until the day of, and just show up. We'll be there from 12 till about 4 o'clock on Sunday, April 6th. Also be betting some races from Keeneland. All right. What did I have in store? Oh, one more thing. Talking about Let's Eat, because I try not to get riled up about it because I am reading this book about not giving an F. But, this group is my baby. I did meet some fans at Batch yesterday. Some people came up to me and Val. We were sitting at the bar and go, "Are you Mike Mayo? We love the group." And, these women are very entertained by things. But it gets a little bit, discouraging when people manipulate things. I think Ty Spice took it on the chin a little unfairly. This guy didn't explain. He got a check that says there's a 3.85% credit card surcharge. And if you want to pay cash, you can avoid that surcharge. It says it right on the first check.
That's fine.
He showed a picture of the secondary check, which is after you put your credit card in these machines, the portal machines, and then you put in your tip. And we still don't know if he put in 18% or 20%. He probably put in a custom tip because that's the only way it would come out to $16.66. And then he wants to make the restaurant look bad without giving all the facts. I mean, I was on the phone with Michael Tatton. He's the longtime owner, 36 years there in business. They do a great job. Yeah, they're a little bit pricier, very impeccable quality. Reminds me of Christine Lee's, it's an Americanized Thai place. They have great steaks there. He does a great job. And even the guy that started his post, good food, good service. But then he has to go on and he starts complaining and impugning the place, and people are all up in arms. 600 comments. I don't get it. And then the other thing that happened yesterday is, Eddie and Vinny's. It opened to the public last Monday. It's not even open a full freaking week.
So what
March
happened?
17th. And some lady posts a review from her Saturday night meal saying, the menu wasn't very extensive. It wasn't like Tavolino. Hey, you idiot. They're in soft opening mode. They're giving the kitchen a break. They're letting them practice things. They're not going to have 50 menus.
They openly said that. They
And then she said, "Oh, and our waiter disappeared halfway through," which I say, okay, that shouldn't happen, whether it's week 1 or week 100. But Eddie was like, he was there. His wife, Christina, was there. Paul, his partner, was there. He said they touched every table all weekend long. And this woman didn't have any problems. Now, the woman, to her credit, said, "I'll go back. I understand it's early." And I was like, "You do realize they've been open less than a week and you're coming on here."
Did she talk to them about her issues, or she did the move where everything?
No, she did the move. She did the social media move. I'm going to come on here and bitch in front of 200,000. Oh, my God. I got to not give a F anymore. Defo, I know you got to run. We'll let you go.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right.
The guy texted me during the show. He's going to be here at 2 o'clock.
All good. We got to do our third break, so it
Yes.
jives well. We will see you tomorrow at noon. We're doing a noon early post time tomorrow for Lubie because he has a doctor's appointment. And we're going to be back tomorrow at noon. But before we go, we got to do a third break. And we also got to talk about my friends at Batch, New Southern Kitchen and Tap. Like I said, I was in there yesterday. I saw Brandon. He's shrinking down. He's less than a 1 iron now. He's a skinny putter. And, but he was, working, man in the front desk. Very crowded on a Sunday. We got there on the later side, closer to maybe 2:30, and it was still packed inside, outside. Everything came out exquisite. Me and Val, we split the grilled peaches with burrata salad. We split a shrimp and grits. Fantastic. And we got some of the house hot sauce on the side. We mixed it in with the shrimp and grits. You can't do better than that. Next to us at the bar, a couple, they both got chicken and waffles. And let me tell you, Val and I, our mouths hang hung open. We said, we have chicken. We have
FOMO.
entree envy. We are coveting our neighbors' fried chicken entrees next to us. We didn't grope, beg for a piece. But that fried chicken is coming out looking so good now. Golden brown, perfectly crispy, juicy on the inside, perfect seasoning. And Brandon admitted they were having a couple of issues there for a while, but they have got it all figured out now. That fried chicken and waffles. I told, Val's like, I don't like waffles. I was like, it's okay. Just order the fried chicken and waffles and tell them to hold the waffles.
Well, they do their own. They do a homemade like whiskey infused syrup.
Whiskey infused butter and syrup and all. I mean, all the little touches there are so good. I'm so pleased. This partnership that we have with Batch New Southern Kitchen and Tap, they are expanding. They brought that Southern concept to their Delray Beach location.
That's doing really well, which is
and it's doing really well. And they are also open for the weekend brunches and I think lunch on Fridays. Fort Lauderdale is open 7 days for lunch, brunch, and dinner. Then you've got West Palm Beach, Clematis. And again, the queue in Let's Eat South Florida backed up with rave reviews about Batch, like 8 of them, but we don't allow them. They're just like, it's become so repetitive. Like even puts Tropical Acres to shame of people loving on Batch. And if you haven't tried it, go 525 North Federal Highway in Fort Lauderdale to check it out. Free parking in the garage on the side. And you'll too will see why people are raving about Batch New Southern Kitchen and Tap. I've been raving about it for over a year, and I'm so happy that people have been responding and checking the place out. It really is. They do such a great job, and it's all about hospitality, feeling acknowledged. And they don't nickel and dime you there either. You can put on whatever gratuity you want, and they will give you service with a smile. All right, tell them the Lunchbox sent you. Let's take the third break, and we'll come back, me and Lubie, to wrap up this edition of the Lunchbox after these words.
Hey Lunchbox fans, is it time to sell your business? You've poured your heart and soul into your restaurant or business, and you want to see continue the legacy you have built. Transworld can help. Call me, Andy Cagnetta, at Transworld Business Advisors right now and see if it's time for you to retire and relax. Iconic brands like the Mai Kai, Mulligan's, Carlos and Pepe's, Mangoes, and many more turn to Transworld to help sell. Contact Transworld on Facebook or call 954-772-1122 or visit tworld.com. Again, that's 954-772-1122 or tworld.com.
When I'm looking for some wicked good food for a wicked good lunch, there's only one place to go. That's Wicked Cheesesteaks in Fort Lauderdale. It's at 4824 North Federal Highway, just south of Commercial Boulevard and across from Holy Cross Hospital. My friend Brian there, he will hook you up with some really tasty treats. They've got cheesesteaks just like the best you can find in Philly, along with lobster rolls, because that's where he's from, Maine originally. And they have wings and pizza and everything you want to have a really good time. Wicked Cheesesteaks. They're open every day but Tuesday. Check them out online, wickedcheesesteaks.com. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. If you're looking for a great place for steaks, seafood, and more, go to Tropical Acres Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. It's at 2500 Griffin Road in Dania, just west of I-95 in the airport. They've been there a long time, since 1949. That means they're doing something right. You'll get old school hospitality from the Studiali family, along with great value, for tremendous service. Of course, you could also go into the bar for happy hour every day, 4 to 6, and they have great value all night long. Also, a butcher shop that's open every day from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. except Sunday. The dining room is open every day at 4:30 except Sunday. Go to Tropical Acres. Tell them the lunch. Fresh local fish, a sophisticated setting. I'm talking about Corvina Seafood Grill. It's at 110 Plaza Real South in Boca Raton, just south of Palmetto Park Road. It's the place to go for the freshest and local seafood and fish, some of it with a Peruvian twist like their great ceviches. It's open 7 days for dinner. They also have happy hour 7 days a week. You don't want to miss it. It's a great place. CorvinaBocaRaton.com for more information and reservations. Tell them the lunch. All right, we're back on the Lunchbox. It's overtime. I can't believe we didn't really talk any college hoops, but it was really kind of dull. I mean, congrats to the Florida Gators. They're in the Sweet 16. Congrats to Dusty May, former FAU coach, now at Michigan, and former guest on a Lunchbox. We had fun with him at Talia's Tuscan Kitchen up in Tuscan table, right? 3 T's
Yeah,
up in Boca. But Dusty May looking good with his Michigan Wolverines into the Sweet 16. But yeah, kind of, I don't know. Was there any buzzer beaters or anything? I just like, there's nothing really
so the
moving
one
there.
the Maryland and what was it? The game that screwed in Colorado State. That game was cool. It had back to back buzzer beating type shots, but the rest of it, the first 2 rounds were pretty chalk.
Yeah,
Sort of
chalky and not very exciting. So onward we move to the Sweet 16. I like to be usually a Gator hater, but I kind of like this coach, right? And what's the hate?
I mean, I
Except that
can't.
they're not the Florida State Seminoles, which I'm a FSU dad now, and you're
Yeah,
an FSU alum. What is that in your DNA program to just hate the Gators no matter
yeah, I
what?
can't. Yeah, I can't.
Okay, so
When I was
you're
young, I didn't mind the teams in the early '90s with Lon Kruger because FSU's basketball was so that I didn't have a hatred for the basketball. But being an FSU alum and student when they were forming the team that won back-to-back titles, it made it very easy to hate the basketball team as well. So yes, I do not root for anything Gator. But I do have a question before we move on because and yeah, we went to Heritage Saturday for lunch.
Oh
and
yeah, did you see Reno in the flesh? Was he there?
he had a family thing that he didn't realize he forgot he had. So
Okay.
he was never there, but it didn't matter. And what I love is because my father-in-law is one to snoop out receipts.
Yeah.
Like I didn't say anything about the water fee ahead of time, honestly, just to see what would happen. Again, it's like we talk about, like the experience was so great and they loved every bit of it. There was some paninis on the table and pizzas and pastas that he never even brought it up, which
All
was
the
like,
filtered, sparkling, bubbly water that you could drink for
didn't even-
$1. That's a deal. I mean,
and he's just the king of noticing this is wrong. And
Right.
and like Shirley was making fun of him for like looking at the receipt just because he just does it wherever we go. Never said a word. I'm like, all right, good. So
Good.
even he gets it. Like when everything's good, like who cares?
What'd you have? A little pizza, a little pasta.
We got
a little salad?
we never had this because we've had a lot of their dishes. They have, and I don't know if it's new or not, but a short rib marsala pizza that was
Ooh,
utterly
okay.
insane.
That sounds interesting. I'm not too adventurous when it comes to my pizzas. I like,
I know.
I could deal with, obviously pepperoni or the sopressata with the hot honey. But when you start putting
It's Reno,
eggs,
though.
I know it's probably
I
great,
was
but
gonna at least try it. Like
Yeah.
it's Reno. We've had a lot of their dishes there, So
Right.
like I wanted to try some different stuff.
all
It was,
right.
I'm telling you, it was great. And then her mom got this other pizza that was lighter. I don't remember everything that was on it, but it was really good. But we had a really good
Well, he
experience.
does a zucchini flour pizza. I think
That
that's
one.
like one of the
That one was weirdly great.
No, I've been meaning to try it because Val and I are both big zucchini flower fans. We usually get the fungi because she loves mushrooms. I like the basic New Yorker, the one with the pepperoni, a little red pepper flakes. To me, basic is beautiful. If you
I
can
get it.
pull off something that's simple, there is beauty in simplicity. But I'm glad you had a good time. We got to do a show there at some point. We've been talking about it. It's amazing how we're already into like the second quarter of the year, and like I've been talking to people. It's like we haven't done a show there since I think it was like November, and it's like holy shit, how did 6 months pass? And it's just boom, it just keeps flying by. Don Jaffe with a funny line. I think him and his wife will be at the brunch bash because Jeannie won last week's contest. His horse was dead last, but he says at the brunch bash, Ozempic shots. I don't think Joe Beja would appreciate us having an Ozempic party. Maybe we could go off into the bathroom. I mean, back in the day, there would be people doing all kinds of things in the bathrooms of restaurants around South Florida. But you know what? The thing with these shots, I hate needles, but I've now gotten used to kind of like giving myself. It's like it's so tiny, and you don't even feel it, and you just have to. I'm a little bit squeamish about giving myself an injection, you got to alternate sides, but you get used to it like anything else. So.
Okay, so the experience we had that I was curious about asking you, because they're supposedly an oldie. I've been around a long time. People are a big fan of it. Sarni supposedly loves this place, which is interesting to me, hearing about some of the places that he's talked about to then throw this place out there. So Saturday night, we went to Sea Watch.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued. Okay.
I'm intrigued by your opinion of Sea Watch.
No, my opinion is this. I've never eaten there. It's one of those places that I've been to. I've looked at the menu. It looks like it's like one of those places that it gets I'd say loyal, older, well-heeled crowd that is not very adventurous in terms of what they want on their plates. And when I looked at the menu, I would see a lot of like combo platters of either fried or broiled seafood. It looks pretty basic, as the kids say. But if the seafood is good, I don't mind the basic broiled. You can maybe throw a little seasoning or blackened seasoning on some stuff, right? I guess if you get a scallop and some fish and shrimp. But what was your take? But I do want to go up there and have a drink at the bar and have some appetizers, because it looks like during the daytime hours, it would be a nice setting to look at the beach.
The setting is the thing. And again, I think I've been spoiled by what we do because we go to all these different places. So I get to experience, if things are a different level of price, there's a really good reason they're a different level of price. Like when you go to Cafe Seville, if something's in the 40s or even at mid to high 30s, you're like, you leave going, oh my God, I could eat that out, like, so to go to places where things are in the mid to high 30s or 40s price wise, and to go,
Yeah.
like scenery doesn't do. We go to places, we go to Taco Craft where you can see the beach, and then the food's great. We go to Even Keel where you can see the beach, and Brad's taking like,
they're doing stuff at a higher level, culinary wise. Than this is just get the food out there for the vanilla loving white people. I don't mean to make.
I'm not even trying to like that thing. I'm not even trying to slam it or anything.
Yeah.
Shirley and I had the same opinion. It was like the portions were, the food was, it's about the view. Like the view is
Right.
spectacular.
They've been getting away with
like
banking on their view for a long time. But was the food bad or offensive, or
okay. It was just like, okay,
meh?
so we
What did you eat? What did you
got
have?
the seafood medley thing
Yeah,
that I
I
thought
love
would
these
be like,
medleys.
but I don't mind it, right? Because it said all the things that sound good. But whenever we go to the places we go to, you get a plate and it has all these. It really reminded me of like an old school kind. It was like in a little saucer thing. You got one lobster tail,
Right.
and it was a small. It wasn't like the people.
Small frozen lobster tail that's already pinched up out of the shell and all that.
It wasn't like when whoever wants to talk crap about Tropical Acres, don't go to Sea Watch.
Okay.
Like, because it was nothing like the lobster tail when we go there and get lobster tail.
Yeah.
Like, and then you got, and I remember it. I remember the number just because it was so small of a portion that I was like, okay, what is she? Because Shirley and I will share dishes. So we didn't think anything of sharing the dish, and looking back at it, we probably should have got a second dish, but we both got soup, and the lobster bisque and the clam chowder were fine, but it wasn't like anything to write home about.
Nothing earth shattering. No, it's one of those places where every time, I say, wow, I can't believe I've never been there. And then I look at the menu, I was like, oh, okay, that's why.
I'm not trying
And
to people like it. Like my uncles got dishes and they enjoyed it.
Dependable, and it's again, like you have a nice setting, and is the service okay? It seems like
No, the service was fantastic.
right. That's why
The view was great, and it's a very nice vibe. And it Shirley's like, yeah, it's old Florida, and it's funny that she knows that vibe because I was like, right when she said that, I was like, oh
old
yeah,
Florida. Yeah.
And it's just places nowadays don't get away with that because like we go to places and I never have to.
Well, and that brings us to the news, of Dune, which I think, I don't know if I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, but Dune is going to be shutting down. It's one of the spectacular setting. I mean, right on the beach at this new condo building they built right on the ocean, just above Sunrise Boulevard on A1A. It used to be the old Ireland's Inn, and they knocked that down and they put up this place, and it's been through like two different management teams. They called it Dune by Auberge, and then it was Dune by Laurent Tarandel, famous chef from New York. And now it's closing actually this Saturday is the final day of service. It's being taken over by this new private operator, the Cameron Mitchell Group, out of Indianapolis, of all places, but they own and operate a lot of different restaurants around the country, including this new Ocean Prime that's going to be opening up at not A1A, but Intracoastal and Los Olas Boulevard. But they're going to be opening up their place called Del Mar. That's going to be in what is Dune now. And Dune was like, I liked the food when it first opened. And, they've had some service issues in the past, but, they went to trying some sushi dishes. They had some different, pasta dishes when our friend John, who's now at Camille's, was the head chef. He did some of his Italian from his upbringing. Excuse me. But, nothing really ever took there. It's just a shame because the setting is so gorgeous that you want something where the food is matching the setting. And, and it did well enough in terms of Sunday brunch service. Was extremely popular this season. They had a good brunch season, and they also have buyouts because people buy the entire restaurant for these functions, including I think the Florida Panthers did one and whatnot. But we'll see what happens with Dune. Sea Watch on the ocean will remain on my haven't tried it list. And I'd sooner go to a place like Cap's Place, which sounds more bizarre and intriguing. You got to take the boat there. It's in this little island. It has this whole, rum runner history back in the day. And, Winston Churchill ate there, and it has some, signature dishes. And it's also supposedly not the best food or the most innovative, but at least it sounds like an intriguing place with some distinct history. And Sea Watch just seems like a bland place that overlooks the ocean.
I feel bad saying, because I know Cerny likes it, and my uncle loved it, and my other uncle went there because my uncle loved it, and there's nothing wrong with it. It just, I look again, especially with we're going to all these places that are iconic, and every meal we're having, well, even if it's hot dog heaven, I'm like, okay, I can see why it's iconic. Like,
Yep.
Eating there, and they're like, yeah, so it's been here years, and I'm like, I don't.
Yep. And I'm looking forward to the Sonny's cheesesteak, and I'm glad to see that somebody went in and sang, praises to Brian and Wicked Cheesesteak.
Yes, that was nice. That was nice.
And we're gonna be getting into Brian in a few weeks again. Hey, we've gone overtime. We didn't even get to. It's been on my topic sheet for 2 days. That New York Times story that I posted on the group, that was entitled "Are Leftovers Over or Are Leftovers Dead?" And I saw that headline, and my first thought was, not to Lubie.
Not here. Wherever I go, I see people taking boxes.
No, and I'm a big proponent of during the shows when they bring out the whole menu, and we can possibly, back in the day, maybe 5 months ago, I would try to eat everything on the table, but even then, no. And obviously we would box up anything, because I regard it as, I came up at a time and a place where I didn't like to waste food.
Yep.
And I think it's an insult to the kitchen. Like, if you just leave half a plate of food behind, that says like, it's not very good. Take it or leave it. And I'd always rather take it, especially with the quality of the food that we're eating. Yep. So I say there is no shame, and it's not gauche at all, even at a high-end restaurant. Now, the only time is, let's say, you're, going someplace else and not straight home, and it's a hot day, or you're going to the theater and you don't want to start schlepping around boxes. Then, if you're in a New York fancy restaurant and you have, that maybe not going to take it home if you're not going straight home. But otherwise, I'm boxing up leftovers all day and night, and I love them. A lot of times the food's better the next.
I love it. Look, I know growing up, at least when I was growing up, the days they called it a doggy bag, it was like, it used to be there was always this sort of aura around, do you not, blah, 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 especially if you're at nicer places.
Fancy French restaurant.
I don't know if that changed or not universally. I know down here, ever since I've been in adulthood, that I've been going out of restaurants and I clock what's going on, I see more and more people taking boxes than ever. So I don't know what's going on in New York, but I know in South Florida, that's not an issue. And it's not just alta cockers or old, it's people of all ages who are spending good money on food and getting good quality food, because we've raised our restaurant bar so well. Why would you want to waste, to me, why would I want to waste good food? It just seems like stupid.
No, and it's funny now, because now that I'm eating less, and like I went out to dinner the other night, I ordered 2 things. Like, I had an appetizer and a fish sandwich, and I cut both. Like, I cut the fish sandwich in half. I only ate half the fish sandwich. I had half of the appetizer. I brought both home. Yeah. And now at the end of any given week, you're going to see boxes lined up and down. And eventually, hopefully, I'll get to it. Now, what is Don trying to start on the chat line?
I know. She would always joke that when we would get the food that they wanted, again, the idea of the show, and it's why I always try to order different stuff at Gulfstream every week, is to showcase what each restaurant does verbally and visually.
Yes.
So you don't remember, but she would always be on the chat when they would be bringing out the food, like it was our choosing that they have. It's not like in our line item where they have to give us 18 dishes. Like, we usually just give it to the restaurants because we want them to showcase
whatever you want to showcase. And the deal is this, if they're, we go out to different restaurants. Sometimes we do it pro bono, just to kind of spotlight new and noteworthy places, like we did with the Sicilian restaurant in Boca earlier this month. Sometimes we're going for, to our sponsors, and we do regular visits. And, the deal I always say is, like, when I come in at night, I want you to charge me. I want to, be able to, pay my own way. But when we're doing a show, it's for promotional consideration, and you spotlight whatever you want to spotlight. I'll eat it. I'll eat nowadays less of it. I'll
Yes,
have
yep.
just one bite, like I should have been doing all these years. But yeah, meanwhile, I miss Joanne. I think she's given up on us in the show.
She's
I know
okay.
she's still on the group. I don't know if she's just still angry about the fact that families have one person, one entry. That's the rule when it comes to the contest. You can't please all the people all the time. I miss you, Joanne. She came to one of our
She's
brunch
great.
bashes, and I'm a forgiving soul. I mean, you never did me any wrong. I hope we never did you any wrong. But not that I'm groveling for one
No,
viewer at a time, but this is a grassroots effort, and I do take care and pride in the fact that we do have a loyal fan
we
base.
appreciate
Great
anyone
to
and everyone that finds us. 100%.
Yes, that's it. All right, we've gone long enough today, Lubie. It's a pleasure. I could talk about food all day. This is
I
what many people understand about me, and sometimes I do.
Good.
But sometimes my voice doesn't cooperate it. But that's it. Oh, she said it's free. Okay, John is starting. He loves it. He's a shit stirrer too.
Yeah,
He's a
likes
man after my own heart. That's all. That's gonna do it for today. Tomorrow we'll be back home again, and we'll have plenty to chat about. At noon, we're gonna have a noon post time tomorrow, folks. So a little bit earlier, and then we're gonna have a busy rest of the week. And until tomorrow, remember, try not to give as much of a F as it's just life is too short to get wound up
100%.
over little pennies and dollars, especially if you have food and shelter. Enjoy every sandwich.